evening, everyone. Now the football's over, baseball season is right around the corner. I noticed the other day on the news they flashed the Royals score across the TV. They probably lost. That's okay. They tend to do that. Baseball is such a weird and quirky sport. They keep track of every statistic and every situation. Baseball is probably the only sport in which you can fail 7 out of 10 times and still be considered great. Many of you have probably heard the saying, don't let the fear of striking out keep us from playing the game. Well, truth be told, even big leaguers strike out, and quite honestly, they probably strike out more than they actually get hits or even get on base. So let's keep that in mind. I wanted to apply that tonight to evangelism, and I want us to ask the question, do we sometimes let the fear of failure keep us from evangelizing? Turn, if you would, to Matthew chapter 9. Matthew chapter 9, and we're going to go down to verses 37 and 38. We know from many different scriptures that we're told to go out and preach and to teach the word. And we have to ask ourselves, how often are we doing this? Do we take advantage of opportunities when they're there? Matthew chapter 9, verses 37 and 38. Then he said to his disciples, this is Jesus speaking, the harvest truly is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, pray the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. There are souls out there to be saved. It's a matter of whether or not we're willing to go out there and put in the work to save those souls. Darren mentioned in class, I'm so thankful for this because it really got me thinking that sometimes as humans, we really like to jump to conclusions. How often do we jump to conclusions in our lives? Now, sometimes we're right, but probably 99 out of 100 times we're wrong when we jump to that conclusion. Do we jump to conclusions in terms of evangelism? Do we make a reason as to why we can't evangelize, why we can't have a Bible study with someone? Do we assume that people may not obey the gospel, so we neglect any opportunity that we may have? Do we say, well, so-and-so believes this, so I'm not going to have a Bible study with them? Or so-and-so belongs to this denomination or congregation, so I shouldn't have a Bible study with them? The truth is, sometimes I think we do have that jumps to conclusions mentality out of fear. Sometimes it maybe we fail in that opportunity. Turn, if you would, to Romans chapter 10. Romans chapter 10, verses 14 and 15. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall they preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who preach the gospel of peace, who bring glad tidings of good things. I want us to point out the last part of verse 14 there. How shall they hear without a preacher? We are the preacher. It's up to us to go out and to preach the word, to teach those of the world. If no one does it, if no one doesn't do it, then who's going to do it? And we have to have that attitude of, here am I, send me. Now, as I mentioned, baseball is the only sport in which you can fail 7 out of 10 times and still be considered great. Now, that's just a 30% conversion rate. If you think about it, 30% is really not that good in anything you do. I know that if Rachel grades a test and the student has got 30% on the test, well, they're probably going to be seeing her after school. If you think in terms of other sports, if a quarterback completes 30% of his passes, that's not so good. If a basketball player completes 30% of his shots, again, that's not a fantastic conversion rate. Remember, God doesn't mandate the conversion rate. God doesn't say you have to convert 50% of the souls that you talk to in order to be in heaven. But he does mandate that we go out and we preach and teach God's word. So we have to ask ourselves, do we let the fear of failing keep us from evangelizing? Remember, it's not a failure not to convert somebody's soul, but it would be a failure to go out and not to do that. So that's tonight's thought. If you're here tonight, if you have a need, if you need us to pray with you, if you need us to pray for you, we can do that. If you're here tonight and you're not baptized, whatever the need, we'd ask you to come forward this time as we stand and as we sing.
Humble yourself to the side of the Lord. 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 And He will lift you up. And He will lift you up. Humble yourself to the side of the Lord. Humble yourself to the side of the Lord. Humble yourself to the side of the Lord.